What's up, guys? This is Carter Thomas with Coin Mastery TV. Make sure you go and get the audio on a podcast. Great times. coinmastery.com/iTunes. Hit that subscribe button. That way you can get the audio on your commute, whenever you're walking to work, need a little downtime, and want to hear a little crypto, doing daily crypto updates. If you're interested in getting a free newsletter and PDF download about investing strategies, especially for beginners, go to coinmastery.com/invest. My chair just freaked out. Okay, we're back. Today, we are going to talk about what happened last night as I stayed up for way too long, watching the charts for Bitcoin, as many of you guys did, right around here, this bloodbath of right here, this volume. So we're going to walk through this, talk about what happened. I want to talk about how you can figure out what sort of prices to set, similar to what we talked about yesterday. I want to talk about Bitcoin's price in relation to Bitcoin Cash. And now this time, we're not going to talk about Bitcoin Cash in a macro way. We're going to talk about more of the things that are actually happening, maybe in real time. I don't know the exact timing of this, but I just want to show you guys what's going on for the hashing power and the difficulty, if you don't know, and really about what that means for prices, right? Like, should you buy, should you sell, whatever. That's really the important part. I want to talk about a few things about like order books for anybody who's interested. I mean, this is the kind of thing that I'm really interested in. This is how you can determine price movement and stuff like that. And then I want to share a few honestly, just things that I'm really interested in, things that I've been spending a lot of time thinking about and working on in the last couple of days, couple of weeks, kind of like that portfolio indexing stuff. But I just really wanted to share it because I'm sure somebody out there is going to find it really interesting. It's the kind of thing I would want to watch a YouTube channel about. That's what we're going to talk about. So it's really just looking at what happened in the markets, helping you guys make better decisions, and just like sharing my experience. That's really what this is all about, and sharing the decisions I made. Last night, if you weren't watching, the best TV show on the internet was right here at bfxdata.com. Not sponsored by any means. This is just a really good chart. If you ever want to watch kind of real-time 1-minute Bitcoin charts, you can do a lot of different kinds, but this is just, they have a really good platform. It eats up your CPU power and your battery though, so just make sure you're plugged in. But last night, I don't really know when it started, but if you're listening on the audio, I'm just looking at kind of a snapshot of the ups and downs of volatility last night. I would say right around here, I guess that's like 7:30. It's right about when I left the office. This is when things started to go down, and this is when, we talked a little bit about how support levels, it really crossed that 38.75 area. That's when you saw this one big dip, right? You saw this, I mean, it's not a dip, that's a cliff. That thing just fell off like crazy, and that's when it really started to get a bloodbath. And specifically, this is when all the volume started to go in, and you could see on the trading chart, the moving averages and the volume, momentum, and all that. So this is when it really started to click. This is when you may have seen on Twitter, twitter.com/Carter Thomas. Go follow me for more real-time updates and trade calls and stuff. This is when I said, all right, I'm setting my buy calls. This is when I locked it in to, into GDAX, into Gemini, into Bitfinex, like all the Bitcoin exchanges. This is when I locked in my prices. I had a couple that are floating around this whole time just in case there was a flash crash. But this is when I said to myself, you got to sit down. You got to watch this. I'm on the fence, to be perfectly honest. I think for anybody out there, a vast majority of you do not need to worry about watching charts. If it's really volatile, often it's better not to watch this stuff. So as kind of fun and as thrilling it can be, I definitely had a couple of moments last night where I was like, why am I even looking at this? Just set your prices and go to sleep. But that's kind of how it goes, right? It's just one of those things. But for all of you, if you're wondering about this, you don't need to watch all of this. You really just need to know, as these trends start to happen, be prepared, right? Have a plan, set your limits. So I set some buy orders. And if you scroll out, like we talked about yesterday, I went back and I looked and I saw when was the last time there was any real resistance, meaning when was the last time the price was going up and it couldn't get above a certain price for a long time, and then finally it broke through. And you could see all these kind of mini versions of that all the way up. But the real big one is down here, right around 34.75-ish, or right around there. And so I always like to set my limit orders a little bit higher than that, just to give it a little bit of buffer. So I think I set mine at like 38 or 34.70 or 34.80 maybe, something, so right around there. 34.50 is kind of the official support level, because if this was going to behave the way a traditional classical market would, that's really where you would see it drop down to. Now, that's obviously not what happened. It only dropped down to, I guess, what is that, 36.11, which is loosely attributed to this resistance level, which is very, very loose. I mean, that's not even, it's still above the price drop, or at least the candle. So there's a lot more technical analysis involved. Like there's things, what's it called? The clouds, the Ichimu clouds. Is that right what they're called? There's lots of different ways to do sort of analysis. It kind of depends on what trader you're looking at. There's long-term trend lines that you got to break. I'm not going to get into that right now. I was really just looking at the resistance, and this is when I talk to enough technical guys, men and women, this is what they all kind of agreed right around this. And then there's a second level around 32.50. I think it was this one, but it never got that far. So I honestly didn't fill probably 75% of my orders, and it was frustrating, to be perfectly honest. I was like, man, I had all this cash ready. I was ready to rip. This was the time to buy in. And I will say I got in, I did get some at 36.80. But one thing, the kind of big learning that I would impart, that I'm going to try to do for next time, and I would encourage anybody else, if you see it hit the bottom and it's coming back up and it's starting to take off or whatever, it's very tempting to say, oh, well, I don't want to miss this before it goes away. It's going to take off and I'll never see it again, or whatever it may be, right? So as this candle starts to rise up, you may be like, oh man, it's 3,800. Like, I'm just going to buy some, like, get it, whatever. And that's a really dangerous area to be in, because without the proper analysis, without the proper research, you really don't know if it's just having a quick retracement, right? So like right here, it popped way up. Some people bought back in and then it dumped again, and then, whatever else it may be. So it's much better to stick to your plan, and in your plan, have different limit levels, right? And you don't necessarily need to buy it on the way down, but on the way up, have a plan about it, because otherwise you end up spending a lot of your money in smaller proportions at all these levels all the way up, and then you don't really get the benefit of the dip, right? You're kind of dollar cost averaging yourself out of the whole thing anyway. And it may be better just to wait until the next opportunity, and there'll always be more, right? It may feel like this is the only time you'll ever be able to buy cheap Bitcoin again for the rest of our lives. It's not true at all. There's always going to be more opportunities. Maybe it's on Bitcoin, maybe it's on Ethereum, maybe it's on Litecoin. Something else is going to go way down and be able to buy into it. It always happens, right? And some traders would even look at the greater chart of Bitcoin and say that overall, this may come down a lot. I mean, I don't know for sure, but for you, as you're watching this, and as you watched this last night, and as you watched it go way down, and then it popped back up, and now it's at, it's been up at 4,100 this morning. I mean, it's 1 o'clock in San Francisco right now, PM. There's always more opportunities to buy. Having cash is king, and you only really want to deploy it when it meets your criteria. If it doesn't hit your criteria, that's okay. Wait till the next one. But don't feel like you got to just spend it because you have it. And that's a very tempting emotion. I'm sure many of you watching this last night get tempted. I know I get tempted, and I've done it plenty of times. That's the only reason I'm saying that. But save it. Just hold on to your cash. There's going to be more chances to deploy it in a more strategic way. And that's when you get the money, the deals, right? Let's see here. Okay, cool. So I think that's kind of the story, right? This is coming up. Bitcoin's price is coming up, and now it's hovering around 4,100, which is kind of nothing new. It's a little bit of resistance around there. But the real reason, the story I should say, in Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, you guys can go to fork.lol. I should probably take out this bookmark bar, keep it a little bit cleaner. Go to fork.lol. Break this down. Kind of a stickler for making everything look clean for you guys. And what this is showing you, if you care, you may not care. This is showing you the Bitcoin, the BTC, the regular Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Cash, and it's showing you how they compare in real time. This is for the miners out there, right? For most of you guys, it's not a big deal. Like, you don't necessarily need to know about this, other than when there's a crossover, when it's more profitable to mine Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, there's going to be obviously a change of incentives for miners. So if it's more profitable to mine Bitcoin Cash, as it has been for the past few days, people may start mining more Bitcoin Cash. If it's more profitable to mine Bitcoin itself, people will go back to Bitcoin. At least that's what behavioral economics would tell you. Excuse me. So you should go check this out. A lot of it's kind of geeky stuff. I'm mildly interested in this, but I'm really just interested in seeing how this impacts the macro force of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, right? I want to see how strong the incentives are of mining versus what the emotional sentiment is in the community, right? Does this actually have the power to get people to not do Bitcoin Cash or to not do Bitcoin itself? I'm really interested in seeing how this is going to affect the miner behavior. And in turn, that is going to affect the price. And it's going to affect the price, the short-term price. It's also going to affect the relationship between Bitcoin Cash and between Bitcoin itself. As you guys know, if you probably saw on Twitter, during this, I bought up a bunch of Bitcoin Cash because it was going way down. As I said, I was going to do a video. And then as this tanked, Bitcoin Cash spiked, and I sold, 30% spread, kept the remaining shares. This is the next opportunity to have something like that happen. There is going to be, it's going to be volatility, but it's more just the opportunity to get huge swings, because this is a lot of money on the line, and there's a lot of people that can move volume very quickly. All right, there's not a lot of parties involved. So when there's fewer factors to an equation in markets like this, the faster and the bigger the swings can be. And that's when you can make a ton of money. So keep watching this. I can't tell you which one's going to lead to more profitability or not. That's why you watch this. I'm going to be watching Twitter, and I'm going to be watching the prices of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash in real time, probably for the next 24 hours, or maybe more than that, and seeing how this affects it. As you start to see trends, you can potentially make a move if you're interested in this. This is getting more into the micro. This isn't, it's kind of blending the two, but this is the kind of patterns. A lot of people are asking me in the comments, can you elaborate on how you knew about Monero, or made the call of Monero, or whatever it may be. This is a good example of one piece of, let's say, 15 data points that would lead you to make a conclusion about the direction of something happening in a market. And this is a very strong indicator, no question about it. But this is the kind of stuff, right? And the key is, how does this affect the people, right? Does their behavior match what they say they're going to do? And anytime you see a mismatch, that's when you make a lot of money, right? Because that's when you see the corrections. Okay. There's one thing I was going to talk about, about volatility during these markets. I'm only going to talk about this briefly because it's complicated. It's probably one of these, it's more advanced than I think is worth getting into right now. And frankly, it's something that I've only done a couple times because this is really for the pro traders. I was talking to a guy last night, very successful trader, really good guy. And he was showing me how, let me get this into 1 minute. He was showing me how when things like this happen, when you get these up, like look how many ups and downs there are in here. And I'm not going to go back and historically show you all the order books, but let's say right here, this first drop off, or this drop off, and then this kind of come back up, right? So it dropped a bunch, and then it came back up, and it dropped and came back up, right? These kind of looks like stairs almost. Traders, especially margin traders, and I absolutely do not recommend margin trading. I would never do margin trading. I know a few people who do. Actually, I don't think I know anybody who margin trades. I've seen some people on, Facebook and Twitter who margin trade. Don't do it. It is a very good way to not only lose all your money, lose more than you have. Don't do it. Margin trading is insane. But one thing that you can do in these volatile markets, and why traders, day trader types, love these markets, is because when you get down to the bottom of these drops, the order books, which is over here, I mean, this is kind of a trade book. The order book, I guess, would be, let me see here. It's not coming up. I can show you on Bittrex, right? So like the order book is where you see all the bids and the asks, right? So if you scroll down here, it's this thing, which many of you guys have seen, right? Like you see what everyone's bidding on, how much they're willing to pay, how much they're willing to buy. When you get down to the bottom of these sell periods, and it's got to be a highly liquid situation. That's why look at all this volume, right? So there's so much data, you can really make this work. When it gets down here, you start to see resistance in the order books. What that means is that you start to see a very large stack of volume. You see a lot of Bitcoin being bid across a lot of different prices that are very, very close to each other. Now, it's different than a buy wall, which is when one person sets like 300 Bitcoin bid at one price. That's because that could disappear in 2 seconds. Resistance is when you see a lot of different bids, all at this very, very similar prices at very, very high amounts, which means that there's a lot of resistance on that price. When you see that resistance building in the order books, you can potentially set a bid that has a stop loss, maybe 5 cents or $1, $2, or whatever, whatever you're trading, very, very like half a percentage point below the price that you're buying at. And then you can do a sell order like 10%, 15, 20% above it, right? So what you're doing is you're waiting for the price to go down and you're watching the order books get more and more and more resistance. As you see it flatten out, which is when the price swings, you set an order, or you pick your price, you set a stop loss that's very, very small below it, and then you put a sell order, like let's say 8% or 10% or 15% above, knowing that there's so much resistance at this moment that it's going to push it up at least for a little while. You're guessing maybe it's 8%, and then it'll automatically sell when it hits that 8%. But you're also mitigating your risk because you know that there's so many orders below you that there's no way anybody can keep pushing that price down. I mean, very, very low chances. And then you set a stop loss order very close to where your price is, just in case, right? But chances are it won't hit it if you time it correctly. And you can just do this over and over and over, especially when there's steep increases and steep decreases, because all this volume changes so much, and you see the resistance build up very, very effectively. So you don't get the ups and it never really breaks through that resistance. Again, I don't recommend margin trading, but this is what people do when they margin trade, because you can, on a very small increase, you can potentially make an enormous amount of money. You just got to be a pro. So maybe put this on the back burner. One day, this is a goal. But I thought this was really cool because my buddy, who I met a couple of years ago, was doing this last night. And I was just like, this is crazy that, it doesn't always work, but, you get a handful of them to go to work correctly, and it can pay for like 15 that don't because of the risk reward benefits. And so that's something to check out. If you want to learn more about that, I'm probably not the guy to go learn from, but I would go on YouTube or Google and just talk about, stop loss volatility trading probably. It'll probably give you more information about exactly how to do that. I don't think it would work very well on Bittrex. I don't think Bittrex is advanced enough to be able to handle that kind of advanced stuff. I think you'd got to go on a more technical or pro trading platform to check it out. So anyway, something I thought was super interesting, especially for people who are interested in that sort of thing. You can make a lot of money doing it. One thing I've been checking out, and this is a little bit of is I'm really interested in this idea of funds. And so if anybody's out there watching, if you know of funds, or if you're thinking about getting into a fund, please let me know, right? Like email me, carter@coinmastery.com, leave a comment, hit me up on Twitter, whatever. I'm just really fascinated and interested in this business model. What this means is that, let's say a bunch of people all gave somebody $20 million, and that person would take $20 million and they would go invest it into crypto, in this case, and they would have a thesis. I mean, that's kind of like what I talked about last week, but they would say, we're going to deliver returns that are better than Bitcoin, or we're going to deliver returns that are better than the S&P 500, or whatever it may be. And there's a million ways that can happen, mostly through people getting better deals, through technical analysis, once in a while through an algorithm, but it's hard to do it through like a programmatic algorithm. But I'm really interested not just in like the biz dev side of it, or starting one. I'm not really looking to start one or anything. I'm just interested in what are people like, what's an attractive investment fund right now, right? Like, so Mark Cuban, this is kind of what started this. Mark Cuban just invested into a crypto hedge fund, or an investment fund, I should say, that's only going to invest in brand new tokens. This guy used to work at Coinbase, and that's their whole thing. They don't invest in the major coins. They don't invest in proven winners. They invest in highly speculative, brand new tokens. So the idea, it's more like venture capital. Like, one of those goes big, it's going big, right? And I've also been looking at, I mean, this is probably the most ridiculous example, but Renaissance Technologies is a famous, very famous in the hedge fund world. If you're in the hedge fund world or whatever, and you know what I'm talking about. They have this thing called the Medallion Fund. Renaissance Technologies started a thing called Medallion Fund, which is they essentially put a bunch of PhD people on staff and developed an algorithm that gets, I think, something in the order of like 60, 70% returns a year consistently. And it's all based on an algorithm software that nobody knows. It's patented. I mean, it's like you can't get anywhere near it, but they can pump out hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And it's always really fascinating to me because it's impossible to get into. They manage hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars. But I'm fascinated with people who are building funds. And if you're out there, I would ask you, what would you put your money into? Or what have you seen that's really attractive? I'm not trying to build anything here. I'm not trying to start a fund by any means. I have no intention of doing that. I'm just really interested. What would you, like right now, You're essentially, your fund is like Bittrex, right? I mean, you're buying your crypto, you're putting it into altcoins. You're essentially making your own fund with a portfolio. What would get you to take out all that money and give it to somebody else? Like what would they need to be able to promise you? The reason that like I'm seeing companies come up with like BitSequence, I think is one of them, and ADX is another one of them, and Economy is another one of them. And I'm really just starting to see what would get someone like you, someone Coin Mastery watcher, reader, listener, to stop doing it yourself and give it to somebody else. Is there anything, right? Is there any way that you would give it to somebody else? But I'm fascinated with that. I think that this is going to be a very, 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 very big deal in the coming years as the mass market gets into crypto, especially with the volatility of crypto and kind of that's the reputation we have. And because of that, I'm starting to look into things like Economy, which many of you guys have recommended. And I think it's called BitSequence. It's like BQX, right? Is that right? Let me see. Coin market cap. I believe it's called BQX. BQX. Bitquence. So go check these out. I don't own any of these. Bitquence is one. Economy is one. I think ADX is the other one. No, that's not right. Is it APX? I don't know. Maybe it's APX. Is this right? I don't know. Maybe it is. I could be wrong. But I think BQX is probably a good one to go check out to start with. I'm going to go check this out. I don't own any of this. But I just think it's going to be a big deal. Anyway, that's a long story short. So go check that out. Let's see. Well, last thing, two more things I should say. I recently I signed up for cointracking.info. I've been using this for a long time, but I finally just got all my stuff integrated, like all the exchanges. I would definitely recommend this. This is not paid by any means. Like I don't know who these guys are, or they haven't contacted me about this. I just know that a lot of people have been hitting me up about taxes and tracking your trades and things like that. I can't talk about taxes for a variety of reasons. It's a very gray area in crypto. What I can tell you is that no matter what the tax implications are, you need to have everything tracked very, very closely. And what I think you'll also realize, which is something I realized, is that you're trading a lot more than you think you are. And whatever, that's a different discussion. But I would encourage you guys, go get an account here. If you want, you can go to cointracking.info. That's their site. If you want to get, they have a free version and they have a paid version. Paid versions, I think, like $100 a year. If you want 10% off, they have an affiliate program. So my link is coinmaster.com/tracking, but you don't need to use that. You can use either one, you're going to get a free option. But if you want 10% off, you can use my link. They just offer it, so I figure might as well. But I've been using this. They have an app. Really helpful. It also shows you how profitable your trades are. You can set up a lot of your stop loss. Like you can set up a lot of spreadsheets and tables and trade stuff in here. You can show your balance and your portfolio. It's just pretty sweet. And I didn't realize how much they had until over the weekend. This is what I did. I imported all my trades. Go check it out. Right? Cointracking.info if you just want to do it. If you want to use my link, coinmastery.com/tracking, they're both going to get you a free option. Totally up to you. I think that's it. Yeah. I think the last thing I would say, along those lines with the coin tracking, a challenge, depending on what your budget is, your level of investment, how much you're using. This really opened my eyes going through this, doing this tracking or importing all my trades. I would encourage everybody to try to not trade anything for a day. If you're not doing that, if you're just getting started, try not doing it for a week. But I have a feeling that a lot of you are very similar to me, and that you're trading a lot more than you think, and it adds up. Now, I've been making good trades, and I'm way up, not just on the stuff I bought in early, like starting from scratch in July. I'm way up purely on my trading stuff. But man, there are a lot of trades that I just didn't need to make, that weren't thought out, that were impulsive. And it was really just because I just, every day you just need that hit of dopamine. Right? You just need it. You don't realize it, and your brain just finds ways to get it. So I would encourage everybody, start tracking how much you're doing each day. And if you can, if you're up to the challenge, try not doing anything for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Just don't do anything. You can still look at everything, but change your password, give it to somebody else, and say, don't let me log in here until this, until 72 hours is done or whatever. It's an incredibly powerful thing to be able to do, is to not do anything. It's really, really important to be able to do that. So check it out. Might be worth your while. It might end up saving you a lot of money down the road. So we'll stop there. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Remember, this is coinmastery.com/YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends. We're making great progress. I think we're at 14,000 subscribers already. Amazing. You guys are incredible. So happy to be part of this and to help you guys out. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.